Hey guys, I'm learning TFT and I'm sharing my learnings with you so that you can learn and I can learn better as well. In this video, I'm excited to review a talk that Rainplosion did with the TFT Coaching Plus program run by Aesah. I have not actually had the opportunity to sit in and watch this video yet. I missed it, so I'm going to be watching live and learning along with you. I'm going to be watching on 1.5x speed, so if it's too fast for you, feel free to slow it down. This talk took place on 12/6, and it's basically on line selection. And key thing about line selection that's interesting is I recently did a bunch of pro chats with tier one players, and Cambuli, or not Cambuli, it was Bobster argued that line selection is one of the most important things beyond the fundamentals that separates top challenger players from low challenger players, and that once you have the fundamentals down, line selection is arguably the most important thing that you can actually improve on. And so this is an area where I feel like I am starting to do a lot more critical thinking about and preparation on, not just understanding the meta and the individual comps that you can end up with, but specifically how you want to think about in stage one and specifically at stage 2-1, what line you want to go down. And that's also why in TFT Dojo, what I'm building with virtual, if you want to apply for TFT Dojo, you can go to tftdojo.com or take a look at the description below for more info on that. But what we're building is a tech-driven community solution platform that can help you train specifically at 2-1 augment selection, but also for line selection. And so I'm super excited to hear what Rain has to say about this. So with that said, I'm going to get started. I'm going to also remove my camera so that we could just focus on Rain's content. I'll be taking notes on the side here, and I'll provide a link in the description below to my notes so you can take a look at them as well. And I'll include timestamps to the most kind of relevant sections in the video if you want to jump around to the sections that interest you. So with that said, I hope you enjoy this talk with Rain. I won't really be actively talking for the most part unless something really pops out at me, and I'll just be taking notes on the side. So enjoy this video.
Today I'm basically here to talk about like line selection. I actually think it's not one of the fundamentals of TFT. Like first before all else is like stuff like econ, board strength, and like evaluation of like when to roll and stuff. But I think like I think those are the things that can get you very far. But like if you actually want to optimize your gameplay, I think like the like biggest way to improve is to improve how you select your lines. You'll notice that like a lot of like the better pro players always seem to find themselves in like a good spot, and some of that is because like they just play the early game better. Like you tend to come out with the early game with more HP, more econ, and like unit advantages, item advantages because you send the right items. But beyond that, like line selection is like one quick thing that you can just like literally change one decision, and it improves your gameplay a lot. I think that sometimes on some patches, some of this becomes like fairly narrowed. If you've been playing, it's pretty obvious that there's like two pretty dominant lines. Fast 9 Arcanist, or like Fast 9 Annie slash Silas slash sometimes Senna. Sometimes I mean sometimes it's Azir, sometimes it's other stuff. Is one of the most high cap comps because of how cheap level 9 is comparatively and how strong the Yordle opener is. But beyond that, like there's also like Bilgewater, which I think is falling off a little bit. So I don't have data to support that. But even still, I think there's like a lot of value in talking about like how we decide these openers, how we decide like how to get to the spots that we pick, and how we decide to play what you want to play. If you really want to, you can just go in and one trick. That's like fairly viable. Like there's some guy on the ladder who one tricks Void, which I think is like a C tier comp. Like Fools plays Void. Uh, in top 500, that's like not terrible for one tricking a C tier comp. But, like you definitely can play what you want. But I think that like if you select the right comp, it improves your placements like significantly. So select the right comp. Like we first kind of have to talk about like what comps there are. I like kind of made a pretty unordered or it's like semi-ordered list. These are the comps that I think are like in the real. These are the comps that I think are good, and these are the comps that I think are playable. If you have disagreements, that's like perfectly fine. I think it's important to recognize that like even amongst different like pro players, you notice very different alignments of what people want to play. Like for example, like taking a look at Setsuko. Setsuko plays like a shit ton of Fast 9. Sometimes he plays like some sort of like failure package and Bilgewater, whereas a lot of it is Fast 9. Wasian also plays a lot of Fast 9, but you'll see a lot of like tends to play a lot of like a different version of Fast 9 with Set and whatever. I don't particularly like that version. I think it's not been seeing a lot of success. But it's important to note that like even amongst the top players, there's a lot of disagreements, and it kind of varies because you can have like different levels of risk tolerance. Like Setsuko, for example, is not afraid to go on life, so he's very much more okay with going fast 9, very much more okay with doing stuff like that. Whereas someone like Wasian and perhaps more so like Dishsoap tends to value different things like HP preservation, stage 4 strength. I think he's actually started to go fast 9 a lot more, but you'll see a lot more stuff like rerolls, even like 4 cost carry comps that don't necessarily go fast 9. Yeah, like 4 cost carry comps here. So I don't think like any one person has the right answer yet. TFT is not so solved that we have the TFT AI ready, and a lot of it is like if I tell you exactly what conditions to select what line, I have my own general thoughts about the game, and I'm happy to share them, but it's certainly not definitive. So the skill like I'm mostly trying to talk about is how exactly you choose your opener. This is like what I think the general consensus is for reloads. So we're just gonna go off of this as a tier list. I think these are the two. eh, I think this is the strongest opener by far, like for Yordle, because you print 70 gold as you go fast 9, but like there's something different. So then I kind of selected 4 different games where I want to look at people's decisions and what they do. Maybe this one shouldn't be first. I think this one should be first. Alright, so it's the Baron thing. Top 2 players get gold. There's the page. I don't want to be watching at 1x speed.
This bug on whatever they did to YouTube has been pissing me off for like a week and a half.
Yeah. This is from yesterday. I don't have Setsuko's most current VOD. If there's a way to get his most current VOD, I'd be down for that as well. But he doesn't save his VODs. I'm just ripping it off some guy who rips it off his YouTube channel.
Yeah, is it Setsuko VODs? As far as I know, he's the only person
Yeah.
that actually records his VODs. Yeah, then yeah, this is the only way to get it. So
Sad. Okay, so we'll see his last item drop and we'll pause for a bit and we'll talk a bit about the options. Okay, so here's his items. Here's his bench. We're gonna go into augment selection. I think it's relevant to talk about this place because augment selection is oftentimes when you decide your comp. I think line selection is dependent on multiple things. Like first of all is if you have items. I think that's like the first and foremost, like the biggest thing that decides whether or not you can play a comp. For some comps, the answer to what items you may need might be nothing. Because you're either playing it from lost streak and therefore you can guarantee the items that you can have, or because for some reason the comp is so flexible and contains like so many different carries that you can whatever. But for most comps, like if you want to play Annie, you have to get a tier at some point. If you want to play some sort of like Unara line, you probably have to get a bow at some point. If you want to play like say Scion reroll, you probably have to get bows for your Felios, you probably have to get like some chain belts, whatever. It's a lot worse if you have a ton of rods and tiers because even though Bard can use them, Bard is like a secondary carry to Felios. So the first thing is like identifying your, and I think augments can both like either set you on a path or straight up tell you what to play. I mean, I'm just gonna tell you he's not gonna take war path. He's not gonna take this. He takes this. All right. So thoughts on what you think he would play and why? I think it's relevant to talk about the player here. Setsuko is a player who like really doesn't accept anything less than like a possibility of win out. I'm gonna tell you right now, this is not a reroll line. He's not gonna be playing driven reroll, and I would say it's very unlikely that he plays some sort of Yunara.
I mean, well,
with a bow?
Yeah.
yeah.
So
you could just go bow on Draven and go 80 fast 9.
yeah, sure. I think it's a pretty fair argument. Like part of okay. So the second part that's relevant to the conversation is that everything is going to converge around what's broken, especially like more towards early set, but also there's like a ton of patches, right? Yeah, like bow is like really right now. Let me check the stats. Stats for artifacts are kind of fake. Disclaimer. Disclaimer, stats for artifacts are kind of fake because you can print them from Orn.
Yeah,
so like the worthless artifacts actually have a super high rates because no one clicks them, you only get them from the thingy, but bow is definitely one of the better ones, and it has like super insane placements on certain units like Grid or Belveth. Like 3.33 on Belveth is insane because it's a 4 cost. 3.14 is also insane. It's just like a really strong item. I mean, okay, this is influenced by Orn, to be very clear. Like almost every single artifact averages better than 4.5. Every single artifact averages better than 4.5 because of the game Orn bias. But even still, like compared to the middle of the pack, which is like 3.6, it's pretty insane that you can get artifact to be that good. Yeah. Seeing a fast line, there's like a lot of ways to get to fast line though, and the one I want to highlight around here is that I don't actually think it's right to say that he's gonna play around streak into fast line AD. Part of the reason I think that is that Draven is just not strongest ever mid game. I think if you played this opener, by the end of stage 4, I think you expect yourself to be like, what's a reasonable number? Like 50 HP, 40, 30? Because you're gonna have to roll an 8 a ton, right? I think this is like, oh, we'll watch what he does. I'm not gonna try to like explain everything because I
You
can't
do have to
explain
open
every single
glove
action.
to like slam a QSS if you want to go Belveth, but that's not necessarily like a good. I mean, I don't know if you really want to slam a QSS like for tempo.
So I think this moment is important. This is like why I want to look at the game. This is the moment where he decides to spawn a Graves. Graves is his 5th Bilgewater, I believe. And I know some people wouldn't play Bilgewater from like not having Bilgewater in on 2-1. Or like, what were you saying?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I'm really surprised he leveled on 2-1 and leveled to 5. I forgot
Oh,
which stage, which round he
me
leveled to 5 on, but like he has like no upgrades, 1 item on Draven. I think isn't it really low likelihood he's gonna streak stage 2 and then he just killed his econ?
Let's take a look.
I mean, I have some input if I could say. I think everybody got dropped one component, so maybe he scouted and saw that nobody had items and he saw he could streak, but nobody. I don't know.
I'll also say from the one game watching Setsuko today, he's like super tempo. Like he pushed 19. He went to 6, 19 gold, 2-6 today. So, and he wasn't playing like Yordles. He was just playing Noxus.
He doesn't actually scout before leveling. Okay, so actually, I completely agree. I think this is a little bit. Yeah, he holds garbage on his bench to pre-level. He holds defenders in order to pre-level. I think this is pretty reasonable. So like if I were to give it the reasoning as to why, I'm not saying this is like correct, but you got a gold opener, so like even if you level here, you can still you can probably make 20 by 2 7, right? It's like probably doable because you don't need to pump level here. If you snap your streak like reflects, but you probably don't snap your streak because you don't have any upgrades, but you're likely to get upgrades. You're gonna hit a gold from Draven soon to guarantee that Darius. So all he needs to do is upgrade one of these to have a strong board. And he's holding these pairs and he doesn't want to sell them. So if you sell this, you make 4 gold, you make 8 gold here. And then if that's the case, you would rather pre-level here for better shot odds. High roll forecast here. If you high roll like a Belveth, like right now, you know the game is over. You just don't have to roll until you go 9. I don't know if this is like objectively correct, but I think there's a fair amount of reasons, and I think a lot of them around revolve around wanting to hold these because you're going to get the Dragon I think eventually. I think it's also important to note that this is where he decides that he can play Bilgewater instead because he doesn't find the upgrades to the defenders, right? Like the defenders never get the upgrades. So at this point, it's like fuck that because he already has a GP. And this is the moment where he actually commits to Bilgewater because he sells off the defenders, he sells off the Nico pair, the Jarvan pair. Decides he's not going to play this. Plays Bilgewater. I think this is like fairly reasonable because Bilge is just straight up a stronger comp. Yes, the Darken Bow is like fairly strong in Belveth, but it's also very, very strong in Druid. Again, this is probably not something that another player would do, but like I think this is directly applicable to you because if you happen to like playing fast line, or if you happen to like prefer playing for 1 out, or if there's other lines that you're comfortable on, like this is something that like you might decide to do because like it's okay to decide to do this as long as you're playing a strong meta line. Yeah, so Bilge here is one way contested, I believe. And I think this is the point the decision making has been made. He just plays the Darken Bow for the rest of the game. Bows it to this. Setsuko is pretty good at playing through stage 4. So eventually he rolls for the MF2, the Kindred, fast 9, the game. So this is a spot where like you got to play from high roll, you got to play for comp. I wanted to look at this because I think it's actually like very notable that he decided to throw away like the original opener he had to like force something that like he didn't necessarily have the units for already. Like certainly he had more Dariuses, he had more of everything else. But if you think that a certain comp is like much stronger, and like I think these 2 comps are like much stronger than these comps. Slayers would go here, I guess. Like maybe with Darken Bow would go like here. I think it's like quite reasonable to decide to like toss away an opener, and that's like part of what can make you decide to play a comp is if you have the spot for it and you think it's broken and it's not severely contested, like you just take your spot. I want to look at it as something like kind of the opposite. Ignore him playing. I don't know what's it. Time guesser.
This is after World War II, I think. He was a atom bomb. I don't know what war he would be referring to though.
Things to look at here. Forget the ball. I don't think it was in portal though. Okay, yeah, earlier Ogden's. Things to look at his items here. Rolls a 4, gets this. Alright, so things to look at. He has a mini eco, you can use it for tempo, or you can use it for like reroll if he really wants to reroll. He has 1 full item up, you can either reforge it or play this. What lines do you think are available from here, and like what lines do you think he might choose? Thoughts?
Since he's got the death gap and he doesn't really have any other AP items, and maybe like a Rage Blade, I feel like he needs to play maybe like an Annie or something. He has Yordles, well, one Yordle, I guess. So maybe he could like try and get more Yordles and then swap to Annie. That's what I'm thinking. Because I don't really know what else you'd play with like a Rage Blade and a Death Cap.
He could play Kaisa.
Yeah, depending on the Void Mouse,
Oh,
we'll play
right.
Kaisa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I never
okay.
played that comp.
So
Play
I hope he
Aura.
scouts. Yeah, I'll be side. Okay, he does scout. Okay, that's what we need to look at. So people generally tend to have like pretty reasonable openers. This is I'm not really sure. So some AD, like slight leading. I think this one is Xinjiao. So I think Kaisa is like pretty reasonable, but as soon as he doesn't play, like if you think that like Kaisa is like a pretty mediocre comp, I think you're unlikely to streak early game if you decide to play Kaisa, because if you play Kaisa, like you really want to get the Void in like right now, right?
Yeah.
I personally think that this spot is like a little bit suspicious for Annie, because Decap Rage Blade I think are like not very great items on his board right now. I don't know if I would reforge the bow like he did, but his choice here is to actually reforge the rod and the decap, because like a lot of his units are AD. He has like an easier time playing around AD right now, and ends up getting this. So yeah, like probably you're gonna have to like try to play some sort of fast AP, right? Like most of the time from this. So he preps the Yordles, gets this.
Wait.
Sorry, what? Do something?
Oh, sorry.
I'll think this. At this point he hasn't committed. I'm just gonna say that I don't think he needs more components. I don't think I think that if there's something is kind of weak when you take it 2-3, as most Decon augments are. He takes on a role because he's playing Yordles, so he's printing Yordle shops, and he has like 4 1-star Yordles on board. So he just thinks that this is like over the course of the game gonna be like, I don't know, like 40 gold or something.
It puts a lot of rerolls with
Yeah.
Yordle.
I think
Is
messes
he
up.
rolling? Is he trying to reroll Yordles?
So at this point he's
Uh,
not. At this point he's not. I'm just gonna say it, like if you I muted it, but if you look at the VOD,
I have to be more careful with that. That's what
but
it was
at this point he's
Oh,
not.
it's fine. That's all good.
Because I think
At this point,
it's just
it's like
oh, it doesn't-
learned that, or at least that like you don't actually need more
No.
rolls in
Really
Yordles Fast 9. So things like on a roll are actually
as my 4 Yordle.
unconducive to the line, because you actually want like physical
I
gold.
look like I'm going 8th.
Oh yeah.
because
So
unless, then if you take rolls, you don't get the 8 and you can't go 9.
Bye, Poppy.
yeah, I agree.
Bye.
If you ever take on a roll, by the way,
Staff.
for anything, you can like cheese the. It only applies to units on your board, but you can like cheese an upgrade by putting on your board and like unlocking after the combat starts. Random thing. Okay, so I completely agree with you. Actually, I think honor roll is pretty terrible for going 9. I think he picks it.
So I didn't really make like basically I've been down in intervals the entire game, which makes it
Wait,
really
can you
hard to, like fast.
Can you explain the cheese real quick? I didn't quite get that. Like, do you start with a unit on your bench and then put it on your board after you
Okay.
select the augment, or?
I guess some historical context. Honor roll
Is
used
this
to
the
be
Nilly
incredibly
deck?
broken.
Bye, Poppy.
Sure, the Nilly tech is. I'm gonna do
No,
it.
or the Nitro Niddly bug where you get the extra stuff by like
Bye.
Not exactly,
onto the board.
but honor roll only works if you upgraded a champion that you fielded on the board last combat. So he's Tristana 2 in shop, but he didn't play Tristana last turn. You'd have to lock the shop in order to get the 2 rolls, which is like technically gold positive. Build Tristana this turn, but you can also just like play the Tristana and like unlock it, and then after, because if you buy it here, it'll combine at the start of the next combat after the Tristana has already been.
Okay,
on
got
board.
it. I got you. Yeah, I see.
Also, yeah, I actually agree. I think if you're playing Yordles Fast 9, you shouldn't take on a roll. I think it's pretty mediocre.
Sorry.
But
Actually,
so
fucking rolls. It's actually gross.
So this is his spot on 3-2. The levels here. I'm just gonna spoil it for you because like I think this is really important to talk about. He decides to play Yordle reroll from here. I think this is a really smart choice. I'm gonna just say it right now. Like as far as things go, I would rank Yordle reroll like at the very bottom. I think it is like the most completely worthless comp of all time. Unless you have like there's something that make it good, like the scaling AD AP, especially the one that helps like 1 cost, is like kind of okay. You have some 1 cost going in there. I think the Yordle, like the Yordle augment itself is fine, but as for like Eagle itself, like it's not a very strong comp, and I also think it's one of the comps that like it's like worse as you go higher up in elo. So I think if you're playing like in a full challenger lobby, the AVP of 8 Yordle is something around like a 5.5, 5.3, 5.3 more like probably. It's probably not like horrendously horrendous, but it's definitely not great. But I think it's actually very, very. Yeah, if you have extra slots, you can like start playing some stuff. But part of the reason I like looked at this game specifically is that I think this is like a really impressive example of like a salvage spot from a like a horrific early game. Because I'm just gonna say his spot is horrific. Like he's 14 gold on 3-2. You have to level here because leveling prints you 4 gold per round. Part of the reason that he's poor is because he's holding the mini Nico for the whole game. I think if you go fast 9 here, your AVP is something around like a what 7th, 8th. Because you can even 4-5 level 8 it like maybe, right? But it's hard. It's hard. Like 10, 20, 30. Makes 50 by neutrals. I'm not sure you can 4-5 it. Wow, his spot sucks. But I think this is like, and I think the honor roll can help. I think if you were to run this back, you should take good for something. I think it's pretty mediocre when you got a first, like your first item is an item augment. And I also think good for something is like a lot worse when you take it 2 turns late because you're just down 4 gold on average. But knowing all this context, I think it's important to decide that like your AVP here is like very, very low if you decide to go fast line. So you have to try for something that like you can streak immediately and just play the game out. Yeah, he decides to play Yordle from here.
Like you're not losing going off.
His spot is so desperate that on 3-6 of these options, takes Slimin. I don't think Slimin is a good like augment in this comp. I don't think Slimin is a good augment in Yordle reroll. It'd be okay if you're going fast line, but he can't go fast line at this point. But the thing is, like, you actually need to like level at some point, and you have so many rolls that you can probably hit the Yordles anyways. And if he doesn't take Slimin, he can't make it to level 8. His spot is so incredibly cooked. Like, if you look at his gold, he can't make it to level 8 if he doesn't take Slimin. So, like, this really is like I think like a 7.0 AVP spot. And it is his fault. I'm just gonna say it is his fault. I don't think he should be taking second thing. I don't think he should be leveling on 2-1 possibly. That one's more debatable. But the end result is like if you pay for your placements, give the team out. Okay, and he skips Teemos. It's full 3-star Yordles. Managed to actually save some HP on stage 3. And he scrapes himself into a 5th. With some luckier matchmaking, if he doesn't fight the person who's like level 10 here, he can probably go 3rd. He's falling off, but like still like some strength to this board. Yeah, I think this is like an example of like one of like the better played late games, like salvage late games, and like I think a lot of that is because of line selection. I think if you chose to was the fast line from the spot that he had on 3-2, it would be really, really, really rough to manage to even like top 7. Because like he literally can't go level 8 on 4-5. And I think one important part is just like keep options open. I have this the first game I watched was an example of where like you tossed away your opener to play something that was like S tier. The second game, I think like this is like pretty F tier as far as things go. Like we checked the stats, it was like a 5.2, 5.3. But sometimes like you have to play for like the situation and the spot you're in. You don't have the gold. Like maybe it's because another common example of like some playing a comp 2 salvage something is because people are incredibly contested. Like if you have a bilge opener and there's like 5 people playing bilge, sometimes you just have to drop the ego and not playing bilge, even though bilge is like one of the S tier comps. You have to play like Yunara or something. That's why I think this is a great game to watch. Speaking of that, this is a YBY guy game. YBY kind of plays a mix of both. He plays fast 9. He plays like weird double 8 comps. I don't think he is like super in one way or another. Not super anti fast 9 or super pro fast 9. Okay. So things to note. Full play unlocks Poppy here because Poppy is the Demacia Juggernaut. If you hit another Juggernaut, you can or Demacia, you can have 3 Demacia plus Juggernaut. Have a decent package to start the early game with. Yeah, here's his options. He has a pretty weak board. He has a great 2 with Poppy. So like yes, he can have 3 Demacia, but this is a reminder that this is the star 1 cost portal. So like you could expect most people to have like pretty strong. So the fact that like you have this, like your opener is just mediocre.
Oh, I wanted to say I actually disagree because I think his opener is actually pretty strong. He has free Freljord on bench and he has Anivia. And like as far as I know, Anivia's abilities is a lot stronger when you get.
Where's the 3 Freljord?
Oh, I thought he had Ash on bench, but okay, never mind.
Fucking
Maybe I'm
Soul
yeah.
Ash. Holy.
Okay,
Yeah,
never mind.
I disagree with this one. That is weird. Okay. Back to the Freljord. I think that 3 Freljord is like not bad, but I think that he wanted to play on the Blitzcrank too. I don't think he should have sold Ash. I think he should have sold these. Like that is just weird to me and possibly wrong. But the important things to note are that I think that it's still not a strong opener in this context. Like even if you had played 3 Freljord, because you're gonna be playing against people who like have similar openers except they have a 2-star 1 cost. Like unless you upgrade one of these, and even if you do, like even if you have Anivia too, your opener is gonna be like comparable to other people. Like I don't think Shojin is like a super strong early game slam. I think like the strongest early game slams are frontline. Archangels, like I don't know, Archangels, Rage Blade, scaling items because early game fights tend to take a long time. Frontline items because like frontline is just king in the early game. Burn items can be also king in the early game, so stuff like Sunfire. You can't really get red buff, but sometimes you get Sunfire. Morello would be good, but like early game users don't really apply Morello very well, so it's like kind of mid. Yeah, I think Shoshin is like one of the more mediocre items. So I think it's like if you say he's like a bad opener, I think that'd be untrue, but I think his opener is pretty mid. Bad Freljord. But I think Hustler is also pretty strong. I think he just took this hoping he would hit some upgrades and streak. Doesn't. Does hit Yunara, so spots to look at is when he gets to 6. So it loses the early game, but hits Yunara. Spots is like I would say this spot is like pretty mid personally. Like Hustler, you're
what's
like really
the
hoping to fight streak, right?
what's the Ionia buff? Because I think Brosa mentioned that like right now he has Hustler, right? And Hustler's like OP when Ionia grants XP or gold. So I think depending on what the Ionia thing is, he might be in a good or a bad spot. I'm not sure.
I mean, I don't know where. But it's not
He's also
gold.
holding yordles though, which is also good with Hustler.
Okay, gold and he does get XP. So it's not one of those two. Like he gets 4 XP here. So, and he killed 5 units. It's not gold and it's not XP. For the sake of the matter, just assume it's like the one that gives you extra auto attacks or whatever. I don't think it is. I think it's like probably one of the, like the health and AD AP on cast. Because I can't really tell what it is. So it's like a mediocre Ionia. Alright, so like what's the plan for this spot? Ionia is like okay. Just pretend it's like usable, serviceable.
Well, since he's got a Shojin, I don't think he can actually play the Yunara. He might just play her till he goes 9 and play either Senna or Lux, maybe? I don't know if he could play maybe the Masia.
Sure. Pretty fair.
Maybe Seraphim or last 9.
I think getting into Yordle is pretty easy because he's got units to unlock cannon even without the rest of the Yordles because he's got Ionia and such. So maybe getting into like 8 Yordle, 6 Yordle, 8 Yordle, and using Hustler to go 8 and 9.
That's pretty fair. We'll take a look at the last augment and we'll see. So he actually doesn't like any in coin flip. I think it's fair to not like these. Alright, it's good, but then you take one augment. He gets hold the line plus some extra. Gets the shot unlocks. And plays Yordle for the rest of the game. I want to say that I think I'm not completely sure if it's line selection that's bad, so I think it's like mediocre. But this is a very risky spot. I know that Fast9 got fucked up twice, and he's gonna be playing fight Yordle. But I think Fast9 is actually quite risky from Hustler. Part of the reason you want to be playing Yordles, right, is that like you don't really want to be rolling an 8. You want to be like sacking your stage 4 in order to make it to 9 and like just screening all the econ intervals. I think Hustler has like a lot of weaknesses in that like you like while you're sacking your stage 4 because like you can't be strong on stage 4 anyways if you're trying to play Yordles. Or like you can be strong, but you won't be super strong if you've taken econ augments, and you also won't be super strong against anyone who's like rolled down. So it's like I can't listen to the random notifications. So it's kind of hard to like actually get into your streak. And also because you can't make econ intervals, your 9 is actually fairly slow. I don't think Hustler actually gets you to 9 any faster than like just not taking Hustler would. For example, you had Patient Study offered on 2-1. But I do think that if he slams a Shojin, that if he takes this line, that like this ends up being his best line. Once he realizes that his early like his mid game is a little bit cooked, he pivots into Yordles, decides to go Fast9 because it is just straight up the strongest line of the patch. Oh, okay. Well, kind of spoils landing. But yeah, like you see, because he's taking this, he's not actually very strong. He doesn't ever ends up getting the best board, so not necessarily very rich compared to someone else who does take some econ augments. They're actually not very rich either. I don't know what's going on here. You should be a lot richer. Or they're richer than YBY. But part of the advantage of playing the strong lines is that sometimes even when things go wrong, you can bail yourself out. And also, I think it's important to recognize that it's like kind of hard to make fast 8 AP lines work on this meta. Like I agree with his decision at the very end after 3-2 in order to play Yordles and try to go 9, even though like it literally necessitates him going down to 1 life. Like you can't guarantee you win any of the rounds on stage 4. Because this is a meta where unfortunately like the fast 8 AP comps are pretty mediocre. You can kind of play Seraphine carry and you can kind of play Lysandra carry, but neither of them do like super well. If you tend to see someone end up on Seraphine carry or Lysandra carry, generally like they're slow to 9, they're slow to get like the 5 costs, they're slow to stabilize, and it's like usually more of like a 6th or 7th, 5th, 6th or 7th at best. It's certainly an option you can go for if you think you absolutely cannot make it to 9, but like in a spot like you technically could make it to 9. I agree with the Yordles. I think it's interesting to talk about because this is an example of something that like gets kind of forced out. I think his spot's not very good for Yordles. I think that Hustler is a very bad fast 9 sack augment. It's like a fast 9 tempo augment, right? But he's not tempoing. But sometimes you just have to like to play the best 9 that you can from your situation, and I don't actually think is fast 8 AP because just like knowing the meta relevance, fast 8 AP is not a very strong line. So you take the gold you have, you pass 9, and then sometimes you hit any 2 on your roll 10. And sometimes the lobby is not so strong that you can't win.
Do you think if he'd had like 4 Yordles from the start when he took Hustler, that it might be like a little different because then he'd have like upgraded, presumably, like a more upgraded board stage 3?
Yeah, I think it's possible. If you have 4 Yordles here, then it's quite possible that you'll be able to like upgrade them, but you'll still lose like 2-1 probably. You might still lose 2-2. Part of the problem in this portal is just that he has like a 2-star 1 cost that doesn't directly synergize with his board. He's hoping to like unlock Poppy here, right? And then or he actually misses the slam, so he doesn't unlock Poppy. But he's trying to unlock Poppy, right? He's trying to unlock Poppy and play through the Masia. I think even if he unlocks Poppy, unless he sees like 2 Sonos in shop, it's actually pretty unlikely for him to streak, right? Because it is the 2-star 1 cost portal. So if like I would say, like, with the benefit of hindsight, that his 2-1 augment selection is a little bit suspicious because, like, it's really, really hard to streak in this line unless, like, you start with something good. Like, if you start with, like, a 2-star, I don't know, Jarvan, or 2-star, Rumble, and you have a Yordle opener, then, like, yeah, sure, go for it. I don't actually think those are super strong units, but I think Yordle, like, Yordle line is just the strongest opener. Or if he started with, like, I don't know, like, a 2-star Anivia or a 2-star Sona, and he had, like, this opener, I think that the Hustler is, like, a fairly decent choice. I think this is, like, a pretty mediocre opener. I think he actually should have taken Patient Study. But this is also another point of, like, you just got the lobby. But also, to give some grace, I don't do this in all my games either. I think it's impossible to both think about the game in a new set and, like, know what you're playing and scout. I think that selecting your line is more important than anything. So I'll give him forgiveness for this because I also think Hustler is a very strong augment. If you can streak with it, if you can, like, force upgrades with it, it's a lot better. But Hustler's actually kind of weak when everyone has an upgrade, because a lot of times when you take Hustler, you can win just by, like, raw virtue of having more units on your board. Like, if you're playing 5 unupgraded units and they're playing 4 unupgraded units, or if you're playing 6 unupgraded units and they're playing, like, 4 or 5 unupgraded units, you usually win. But everyone here has an upgraded unit, so, like, combat augments are a bit better. Item augments are pretty good, in fact, for streaking, and Hustler is, like, just has a really hard time working. But the important thing I think to take away from this game is to recognize that sometimes you put yourself in a spot where you only have one line. Sorry, one good line. That really is just fast line. Because you fucked your early game, you don't streak with Hustler. That's, like, kind of a death sentence. You slammed AP items, but there's not really a fast AP line, so you just play through the line that, like, the early game that can get you the 9, which in this set. Alright, last game I prepped.
Oh, I'm getting kinda tired. I'm wide awake.
It would help if he showed the portal. If anyone can recognize what the portal is, feel free to let me know. Fortunately, he's watching T-Lights. TF. What's TF again?
All gold dogma.
Oh, okay. Alright, that's, like, pretty minimally relevant, I think. Not, like, super, super relevant.
I GD or I'm awake again.
Other than, like, tearing down an augment is, like, I guess more acceptable. Advanced though.
It's not even that good unless you get the TF as well.
Okay, so GP Orb, as referring to my super definitive and definitely no errors, super, super good comp list, Bilgewater's at the top, so I think, like, as soon as you see this, you should be thinking about playing Bilgewater. That's one of the ways they lead into Bilgewater, of course. His shops don't contain build units, so he just plays this board. Alright, shit. Do not remember when the timestamp was. Hopefully it's here. Uh-oh. I perfectly planned. Okay. Spoilers, he takes ore farming. Ore farming was pretty OP last time. It was on 4-2. It was terrible at 4-3. It's probably good on 4. Sorry, it was terrible on 4-5. It's probably good on 4-3. And also this set, I think there's, like, a lot more usable 5 costs, right? Like, if you want to play around 5 costs, it's not lockable. This is amazing. This is good. This is fine. This is fine. This is great. This is not gettable. That's probably bad. But, like, I guess you could live with yourself. That's eh. That's okay. Get that. That. Eh. Fine. There's, like, 5 fine options, 2 2 bad options, and, like, 3 really good options. I'd say the really good options are something like Annie, Lucian, and maybe Shyvana, Zillion. Zillion's got a bug, but he's gonna get fixed soon, probably on the weekend. Bad ones would be probably, like, Set. So Set is, like, it's playable. It's, like, kind of mid. I think Ornn is also pretty mediocre.
You also
because...
can't get set.
Oh, you can't get Set. You're right. Okay. Alright, there's, like, one bad option. So I'm pretty sure this one is just broken this set. You should click it.
I picked it earlier and got Fiddlesticks and felt terrible.
Yeah, Fiddlesticks is one of the best fortune options. I mean, I still think it's good. Like, I still think it would be worth the augments, but it's not one of the S tier options.
I played it with Shyvana the other day. Didn't feel terrible. Felt okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anything optional that's, like, frontline, totally fine. That's not kind of surprised that Fiddlesticks was, like, so terrible. People generally have, like, mixed openers. I think there's, like, 2 people leaning Bilge, if you saw. So, Bilge lean. Scout. Just waiting on the scout. I just played a lot of ways I could like see people. Fast 9 something as Warpath or Fast 8 something. Bilge because TF Slam. Tempo, I would guess Yunara based on like items or something. AP. That's Birthday Reunion, right? So just like Fast 9. Bilge. There's 2 like confirmed Bilge players, which I think devalues the a little bit. Despite the fact that he already has the Bilge team plannered. Alright. Thoughts? What are we doing from this spot? Gotta send it to you on our bench. Waiting. We have like a possible Bilge opener. Like we could hold this and wait for. I mean, you're probably holding this no matter what. You could hold this and wait for a 3 Bilge opener. What are we playing with our future Senetsu? What lines are open?
All of them. Senegos on every board.
Yeah, I mean that's actually a really really great point. So in this game, I think it's important to note that like we are just like really. So as long as you have frontline and backline, I think you can succeed. You already have a backline. So I think this game is really interesting. You're not really limited to what you can play. You don't have to play Yunara. You don't have to play like Fast 9 or anything. And allowed to play the game. Like I think one option, if you unlock T-Hex, that would be pretty good. But I think T-Hex is generally pretty hard to obtain unless you have the Loris early game. Because the Loris early game, you don't hold the buys as hard, you don't get Oriana. But I think ideally if you could like hand your own chops, you would hope to get a Loris, you would play a Piltover opener, and then you get to play like X plus Senna shenanigans. So let's get through the game.
Mort's favorite comp.
Sorry, was I
I will
saying
say,
something?
I will say it's hard to like find yourself in this position really from here. But one of my favorite comfort lines is actually the Warwick Gunslinger board, and this is like the hardest part of that is getting the Senna 2 to try and close the game, and you've beaten the hardest part of that.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think that's like a great line. I think
Like,
as long
you
as you
got
like
both
have
sides.
something, as long as you have something that incorporates the Senna, you but it's hard to have the Senna 2 already. But what's not hard is that like I actually have a lot of faith in Riot Games, but there's like infinity augments and infinity balance patches every single set. There's always gonna be like 2, 3, 4 patches or some augment that's like so broken it's insta click, right? Or like it like leads you into an insta win scenario. And this is one of them. I think it's important to talk about that because you want to recognize that like you have a spot that will lead you to such a strong stage 3 that as long as like your board is fine, you will win. He takes just items to guarantee anti-heal. I don't know if this one's the best one. I think you could take Spear's Will. I might like Spear's Will more to finish the IE. Senna needs IE. Or not needs, but like likes IE. Especially with other crit items. But he decides just tempo. I think the part I want to look at, stage 4 roll down. Do that. Okay, so here we are. He's actually pretty poor. He's 50 gold. So if he didn't have a Senna 2 on bench, I would say his spot is terrible because he's poor. Poor and weak and unhealthy. Okay, wait. He knows the reasoning on this one. That's with his shocking. Okay. Yeah, he thinks Logran's OP. That's fair. I'm surprised because I think that he's gonna struggle to find carries. Seeker and Morello be kind of bad. 1 out of 2 out of 8, I guess. They get a 1/4 chance. Not exactly, but approximately. Wait, maybe it is exactly 1/4 chance to get Morello. I guess Morello's still like a third of an item. Yeah, Stack still gets the Senna. Levels a little bit for just like miscellaneous frontline. Gunslinger, and then your stuff for 9.
Also play like Freeman.
You can like really play whatever you want. You don't have to play a standard fast 9 board. You don't have to play like exactly whatever. Back the game, he spends most of the game hanging onto this front line in order to conserve gold. And eventually, like very late in the game, pivots out and ends up on a board like this. Which is enough to win the game. The fact that he doesn't like really end up playing any sort of comp. This is like definitely an example of like more flexible TFT play in his roll down options. What I want to know with this is that like when you do have something that's like super strong, when you do have like a you can high roll 2-star 5 cost on roll down, you can high roll like a strong 2-star 4 cost on roll down. You can just have a broken augment that like wins you the game, like the comeback story augment, for example, in PvE used to be quite broken. So like you could probably do something like this. Like this augment in general or farming is just this broken. And like yes, certainly Senna 2 is one of the stronger ones, but you could hit Annie 2 here and you would also win the game. You get a 0-2, you would probably also win the game because you would start printing like hit it on 4-3, you're guaranteed to print one of the Sharimans. And like Azir's not OP, but like Zereth is pretty strong. Renekton is very strong. Nasus is like kind of the black sheep of the family because there's actually a lot of strong tanks. Not that he's weak, but just comparatively, you kind of want damage dealers. Azir would also be very strong. He can also hold items himself. And like when you have enough frontline backline, you don't like have to play a specific comp. You can just tempo your spot. As long as you conserve your HP, as long as you make sure that you have like your frontline. Honestly, anything is playable from ahead. I think that was the stuff like I wanted to talk about here. To finish it off, I'll just revisit the comps and talk about like what I think about them and when you can play them from. So these two are like the strongest comps in the game, right? Fast9 Annie, I think, is like, I want to say 78% play from Yordles. Yordles generate, I did the math, it's approximately 70 gold across stage 3 to 5, stage 5. So it's 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6 times, this is times 4, 24 gold, and then 4, 1 to 5, 1, approximately 20 gold of rerolls plus 30 gold of Yordle grab bags. Generate absurd amounts of gold when you play Yordles. Honestly, you could play Yordles into anything, but like most of the time when you play Yordles, like you want to play Annie because you want to stack stage 4 for like this amount of juicy gold. If you play another like stage 4 comp, you kind of don't get this part. So Yordles into Fast9. It doesn't have to be Annie. It could be like Fast9 Senna slash Zero Duo. Fast9 is Zero Duo. Tends to be like the highest cap option, but like if you streak enough, if you have enough augments, if you have like there's like some of the win out augments, could play from anything. Build spotter, mostly just build opener. In case it's not clear, like TF is like one of the best bilge openers because you can unlock 2 units at one. Typically bilge opener, usually like, you fast 8 maybe roll for MF. Tap around like K/MF. Let's drop to bilge. Slayers I think play from, I think Kiana's like one of the stronger ones. Kiana slash Diego opener. I can bow. Dashing augments. I forgot what it's called. That one is like pretty broken. Do some weird positioning shenanigans because they dash through units. So you can like, especially when you have like a Aesah, try to get her to jump on backline. Weird vertical. This is weird. If you think other lines suck, you're okay with not winning. Yeah, if you're okay with not winning. AD. If you're okay with not winning. Yeah, actually, never mind. That's not true. Earlier day, you actually cap out super high because you get to play Kindred Senna. It's also like AD slash Rageblade openers. Rageblade isn't necessarily like mandatory on all of these units. You certainly don't need it on Senna, and I'm not completely sure you need it on Kindred. And you definitely don't need it on Warwick, but AD, like Rageblade tends to be like one of the stronger early items you can slam for tempo, and playing this comp like you need tempo. For these, I'm not gonna go over them a super ton. These are all pretty bad, but like if you have a reroll augments, if you have Trade Sector, you can play one of these two. If you have a Epic or sometimes Honor Roll, sometimes Golden Ticket you can play, or Prismatic Ticket you can play one of these. Shadow Isles is specific augments, like supposedly dummies count. So if you have Crash Test dummies, Shadow Isles becomes like a real option because you can stack up enough souls that like you can hit Thresh early stage 4, which is like the real carry of the comp. I think Callista sucks. Possibly you're supposed to pivot out of Callista actually. Just play like Thresh plus like I don't know 5 cost. Built vertical. Not a real line because you have to high roll built over early game. But it's like doable. Noxus reroll. High roll everything early game. Go to reroll, everything sucks. Yeah, this is like generally when I think about like when I want to play comps. You notice there's like a notable gap of spots for EP forecast. Which is definitely like one of the problems in the meta. Like if you really want to, you could play like Void Vertical, so some stuff. But as far as a launch patch goes, I think it's actually like fairly balanced for a launch patch. Certainly this is better than the Syndrome meta, because like if you went back like 3 sets ago, I would have probably said something like comps list. Don't play anything else. But there are like a reasonable amount of comps that can succeed. Annie can win, Bilge can win, players can sometimes win, and Freljord can definitely win. A lot of the other lines are weak, but as we saw, like for example, in the Dishsoap game and the Wasian game, like there's other lines you can take as well. But also if you have a spot, if you have like one of these S tier comps available to you, it's important in an era meta to be able to force it. And that's how I think about how to pick comps. If you have any questions?
You could also play Demacia. That comp I think is doing well, and you technically get 9 units with the Galio when you unlock it. No.
Like,
It
I
says
think
it's
my
like
problem
12%
with
win rate.
I think my problem with Demacia is that you get your units contested by everyone who plays this comp. Like they don't hold it forever, but they hold your Gairns and your Luxes as you go up. And like sometimes you have a really hard time hitting your two stars. Here's how it looks here. But I don't personally rate Demacia. This one or another Demacia?
No, it's an S tier. Demacia Lux.
Whoops. Oh, I mean it looks better here,
It's A tier
but
now.
like I think it's like a little bit scary that like when it only shows up when you like filter in the lower tiers. I think around like the higher glows, my personal opinion, I think like the meta coalesces a lot around fast 9. Because if you look at this, there's like one reroll, like fast 9, fast 9, fast 9. The Freljord-ish board I was talking about. So they drop Freljord actually because they have an Aesah. Freljord-ish. Demacia doesn't really tend to pop up as far as I ever see. Like not really
I mean,
Demacia. A
you
lot
should
of it
probably
tends.
normally just drop the Demacia, but yeah, maybe if you can't kind of go fast 9, maybe that's an option, and then you maybe can win streak and then swap your board out later.
Hey, here's Demacia. Here's one of them. Okay, this is a strange build.
There we go.
I don't think it's like one of the primary options I consider. But like part of the point, like you can play anything from enough tempo. You can also play anything if it's your only choice. Like if you have the Demacia units and you can't go fast 9, sometimes you like have to play Demacia. Like it is what it is. Kind of Annie though, I might like sell the Demacia units to sub in a Stylus. But if it is your only choice, it's your only choice. And if you have to play
Sometimes
like
you roll for Lux and hit Annie 2 first.
that is true. Sometimes
That's
that happens.
But from what
Because
I've
I
seen,
can
Silas 1 seems kind of not very good, so you definitely need Silas 2, right?
Oh, I
uh
think Silas 1 is incredibly game breaking.
I think Stylus 1 is very strong when you have the right items and the right front line to succeed around it. But I think it's like generally not super reliable.
yeah. If he gets blown up, he does not do much. But like
Yeah.
sometimes,
But I think
Like, that's why-
Stylus 1 can do a lot.
What do you think is best item though?
Stylus 1 I think actually like kind of wants a QSS. Like QSS GG Hand of Justice. Stylus 2, you can kind of throw anything on him. Like you don't even have to get healing on him, though you kind of want to. His best items are probably like GG Hand of Justice, Gunblade or something. Or maybe QSS instead of that. But you can go like just like Death Cap plus Gunblade. That's tend to not like PT as much, which makes a little bit of sense because Stylus 2 does so much damage. And also PT just has like is more statted than Gunblade. I think they over nerfed item. But that's like a different question. Let's do a quick look though. Let's say like Annie ever general, what do you play him with? Items. 3-star, I guess. Star. Artifacts. Radiant items. Not that these aren't realistic scenarios to have. A lot of times you have artifacts on him, but like, data gets clogged a lot when you do this because of stuff. USS is great. Cap, GG, Hodge. I think this is fairly accurate. I think Nash's is maybe a little bit better than the stats would indicate because I think this item is like pretty good. Kane's is like stacks pretty slow because his attack speed is pretty slow. But I think these items are pretty good. Dude, this is pretty conditional on having a Jewel's Wallet though, or having spell crit. But if you have spell crit, these are very good. If you not spell crit, like this, all really good. This is not the item I would go for on Silas, but you sometimes have to. Sometimes the other choice though, so like I don't know, like Vanguard BT, Titans, Fast GS. I've built all those items on Silas before. Spark, Adaptive. Alright. I picked this because I think it was interesting. In my own WAD sessions, I found some like interesting spots where people decided to pick comps that I wouldn't have expected them to pick, or pick comps that I thought were very interesting. I've kind of been away for a while, but I'll probably do a few more sessions this set, and we'll see where that goes. Yeah, hey, nice to meet everyone who like just came in.
Cool. I think that's it for Rain's video. I want to kind of talk about my major takeaways really quickly. The one where Setsuko pivots towards Bilge I thought was interesting, where I think it was like at 1-3 or 2-3 or maybe 2-5, he pivoted out of the line that he was considering to go towards Bilge, especially when it's uncontested. So understanding what are the S tier comps and trying to angle towards them. Same thing with YBY1. His early game, he didn't have Yordle with Hustler, but he was still trying to angle into it in the mid game. So that was a pattern I noticed for both YBY1 and Setsuko. Because oftentimes for me, I think, oh, if I don't have the Yordles early, it's just going to be too hard to get in. But especially with Hustler in the mid game, or even just in general, trying to figure out how to fit Yordle in could make sense. The Dishsoap game, definitely like figuring out how to salvage a bad spot. Like sometimes if you go for the highest win rate solution, like what Dishsoap did here and what Y1 did were like basically the inverse. Like YB11 said he's gonna go all in and went for fast 9 on 1 life, whereas Dishsoap spot, I think he recognized that if he tried to go 9 from this spot where he has literally 1 gold on 3-2 or 1 interest gold, like there is 0% chance that he gets to 9. At least YBY1 spot, he got to 9, and I think he still got lucky on the roll down to hit the NE2, but at least it was, the EV was probably the best, arguably, that he had, whereas the EV of like fast 9 here is basically like guaranteed negative outcome, like you guaranteed to go 8th. So finding the right line to take, kind of measuring out what you think your odds and probability are to be able to pull off your game plan matters a lot. And then for the Wasian one, given that he knew that he was going to have a strong Senna 2 in stage 4, and especially in this set, there's so many strong front lines like Taric. You know, I think he ended up with Azir and Nasus. You get an Annie with Tibbers in. You can even unlock Skarner. Like Swain with the stun. Like you could basically throw anything in the front line. And Senna could go on almost any board. So like that Wasian also kind of knew that he could throw the traditional comps out the window and be able to play tempo once he got the Senna 2. So he just needed to really focus on building ideal items for his Senna 2 and then combining that with a strong front line. More broadly, I think really like kind of knowing what comps there are and then kind of reverse engineering what the openers are that can lead to those lines. And then more specifically understanding what are the items, components that you need combined with the openers, right? Like Yordle, for example, to be able to go fast 9 Annie, combined with the components, and then augment selection to have a proper game plan, like having an econ augment to be able to go 9. Like on a roll from Dishsoap spot on 3-2 was probably a mistake. And that all kind of like ties in with the game plan of your line selection. So having all of these, I think what I'm trying to do is figure out how to map all of these in the early game so it simplifies my decision making, and be able to like not just understand the comps, which I think is how I've been thinking about the game for for a while now, like at the GM low challenger level. And I think what I'm trying to get at as I am trying to move from low challenger to mid to higher challenger level, after talking with Bobster, like the emphasis I'm seeing with Rain here, it's like I think this is really the next level that I'm trying to work on, is really in the early game understanding like that one decision inflection point can completely change the outcome of your game, right? That 3-2 augment selection of on a roll, I forget it was earlier than 3-2, if there was a different earlier in augment encounter, but how you make those decisions and make that line selection significantly impacts the outcomes of your games. And so having that plan up front and figuring out a way to better improve my algorithm for producing line selection and all the prep I put into it is kind of what I'm trying to focus on now. So I hope you found this video helpful. I know I definitely found the example specifically really useful. So with that said, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.